California?
Yeah. Today is Saturday, December 23rd.
Jesse, that's start
Yeah.
with
Oh, okay.
that.
Good.
Say when you start.
I'm starting.
Have you started
Yeah,
already?
sure, I'm starting.
Oh, you should have told me. Well, now they've got the date.
Yeah.
But you need to tell them I'm on vacation at Dennis's and at Nancy's place. And it's just the most glorious vacation. And I went up to see Ellenbeck up in Las Vegas, even Anna and Carla up there, in a lovely home too. So I've had a wonderful vacation. And now I have to back to New York this Monday. But
Well, while you're here, I'd really like to get a lot of background and information, not only about you, but about the family, things that the cousins and even your nephews and nieces really have never had a chance to ask you. So.
well, that's true. And I've seen very little of my nieces and nephews, unfortunately. They don't seem to come to New York. Once they come to New York, really afraid of the crime and whatnot. Well, at any rate, it was just a ball to be brought up in a big family. Just wonderful.
You were born
And
when?
I was born
Yeah,
November 29, 1912.
November
I'm 94
29th.
now.
Wow.
94.
And Calvin Coolidge was the
Calvin,
president.
that year, he was elected president. I remember it well. I was a child genius. Well, at any rate, it's with all of us practicing piano, which we had to do 2 hours a day.
Really?
Summer vacations, 2 hours a day, and a half-hour school time, school months, half hour of piano. We all practiced piano, and the boys started to practice piano, but when they found out they couldn't join the girl orchestra, they immediately dropped it. And they never touched the piano again. And I could blame them for that. So we had an incentive to start the piano. And then Dad brought all these instruments home. One time we had the trombone hanging on the cellar steps, mind you. We had everything full of instruments. The whole house was full of instruments. So on the cellar steps was a trombone. And everybody had picked up different instruments as we grew up. And then finally, Irene saw this trombone. And she said, hey, why doesn't someone play the trombone? And then, sure enough, she already was playing the xylophone. She was our xylophone player. And, well, let's see, she played another instrument. We all played different instruments. Mildred Sally played about 5 or 6 different instruments. And the rest of us played about 3. And Mildred, your mother Mildred, was the second to the last of the family.
Right.
So she wound up playing 5 instruments, but she would emerge from a banjo. The banjo was on favor by that time. And she dropped the banjo and took up the violin and then took up the saxophone. And then, so we all finally had the standard instrumentation for a girl band, for an orchestra.
Good. Finally, could you name all the kids of the family, starting?
Greta and Vina, Marcella, we call Sally, Irene, Lydia, we call Lila, Viola, Irma, Mildred. And then the 2 boys, Walter and Elmer.
And your parents, they owned one of in fact, the biggest community center really in the whole area.
Yes, yeah. We had the Montgomery Opera House. We had the movies on weekends, and sometimes we had the traveling. In those days, they had the traveling. They called them Punch and Judy shows. All the streets of black punches. Yes, we had various shows that went to Wisconsin.
And you also
like
showed
Opera House, it wasn't a house.
And you showed movies, and somebody played piano.
Oh, then we had movies, and then Loretta and Sally played between those days. It was reels. We had to play between the reels. And then as the years went by, pretty soon there were more of us playing between the reels, and pretty soon there were no more reels. It was all one movie. No more need for an orchestra. And then, by that time we started to travel.
So originally it was the Schmitz sisters.
Schmitz Sisters Orchestra. And then we also called ourselves the Smith Sisters Orchestra, those years in the Middle West.
Okay.
And we had 2 girl musicians when Vina died at an early age, and then we needed 2 musicians, 2 outside. We already got married. The others got married. So we needed 2 outside musicians. So they would continue that way until Mildred, finally it was down to Mildred and me left.
I see.
And we kept adding outside musicians, became the Coquettes Orchestra.
I see.
And made Warner Brothers pictures. We did very well with the Coquettes, but we got tired of traveling. After a while, we decided Mildred wanted to get married to Al Bartash, about that time, your mother and father. And I was ready to, I was tired of living out of a suitcase, really. So I then decided to go to New York. And in New York, I was allowed to play. You're not supposed to come into New York without a union card and be able to play. But then, fortunately, some girl musicians said that they could get a job if I were with them. I auditioned with them, but I told them I can't play the engagement with you, but I can audition with you for a job. The minute I got to New York, a week later, I was expected to lay off for 3 months. That was the rule. So I had money saved for 3 months. And but then it turned out that we auditioned, and then the club owner said that he wouldn't take the orchestra unless the drummer was there. Fortunately for me, and then they went to the musicians union, and they got permission.
So then we immediately
joined.
Great. When it was the Schmitz sisters, You traveled throughout Wisconsin?
Oh, but all through the Middle West.
All
We
through
played a
the
lot
Middle
of
West,
the state fairs.
Really?
We played a lot of those things, you know, during school vacation months.
Right.
You know, most of our play during the school vacation months, and then weekends during school years.
Wow. So when you went to school, you were in Mount Calvary. You related the story when you were a kid about how Grandpa Nick would prepare the kids to go out in the bitter cold and walk to school. I thought that was really something.
To drink. It's like a liquor, really, like a brandy. It's a brandy.
Like a brandy, yeah.
The German equivalent of brandy. And then we take one sip, one little
just a little, yeah.
And it kept us so warm. It was 4 blocks to school.
So
no matter how cold it was, we would be warm going to school. That happened on all cold days in Wisconsin. So this was a good start for the day for us to fly through the day.
Yeah,
Having fun.
And you went to, of course, the only school in Mount Calvary.
Mount Calvary Parochial School.
Yeah. And originally, when you started school, you began to speak German in school, but then switched to English.
Oh yes, we had to at 1917. That was the end. Dad told us, "Don't let us hear you talk German." In Fahrenheit when we were shopping,
oh yeah,
we were always talking German. He said, "No more German."
I see.
And there was such a feeling against the Germans, and Dad didn't want us to sound sympathetic to Germany. And this was 1917. So that was the end of the German. Thereafter, we continued to try to speak English.
Did Grandpa Nick ever play instruments himself?
Oh, Dad, surely. He was a cornet player. He had a band.
Oh, really?
6-piece band.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and he also played, I think, the organ. Yeah, he played the organ and the cornet.
And how about your mother?
No, she didn't play. She had a beautiful voice. She loved to sing. And she would do a lot of singing around the house. Like the women those years did. You don't hear that now anymore.
Right.
Anyway, you think they're mooning. They go around house singing. But those years, had the maids. We had a maid and a housekeeper always. Big family. Dad always said, you have to spend all of your time practicing, and you don't have to work as long as you practice. But we did have to work some, especially on Saturdays. Loretta came along with slips where each one had to do. But we had to pull these. Whatever we had to do for the day.
The little chores.
Keep it around with the chores. And so each one had, and then you had to start Saturday. Instead of enjoying Saturday, we got up and we had to all take our baths, and then we had to have our hair washed, and then we had to drink tea, that horrible tea, and I to this day don't drink tea, because of that mountain tea that we call mountain tea, that I couldn't stand, and nobody else could stand, but we had to drink it.
Had to drink it, huh?
And I still don't, really, and I know it's the reason that I cannot bear tea, down to this day, which is unfortunate, because tea is so helpful.
Oh, boy. And now other things about the community, about paint kind of a picture in your younger life, like what Mount Calvary would have been like, as far as if somebody that hasn't been there. Now I'm talking about your grandnieces and whatnot. They've never even seen Mount. They don't even know where Mount Calvary is.
Well, it was really a picturesque little town, because there was a convent on one hill and a seminary for the boys studying priesthood on the other hill. And then we hear the church bells. It was like Switzerland. Yeah, the really feeling of Switzerland. Because we were a valley, and then we hear the church bells various times of the day, either from convent or from the seminary.
I see.
And then it was really very European, and they heard the German all through town. Very, very European.
Yeah, it was a German community, really.
Yes, yes. And then we had the wedding dances at our place, and of course, you usually have to take the Schmitz to because Dad gave a very special prize. But the girl did house band, we call ourselves the house band. So we got all those bookings, and the neighborhood that orchestras didn't like that. We got the Schmitz bookings.
So, do you remember your grandmother and grandfather on both sides?
Well, not on Dad's side, we never saw them much. They were from Baraboo, Wisconsin. That was far away. So I rarely saw. We didn't see our grandmother on Dad's side, Dad's mother, because she was a belle de ball in Baraboo, and we have pictures of her with a stunning gown, beautiful woman, and she died at age 33.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so we never got to know her. And in fact, the story was that Ruland, the name was Ruland. John Schmitz, Dad's father, married Mary Ruland.
Okay.
Mary Ruland came from the Ruland Brewery. So the story went. And we always talked about checking it out. We didn't visit with them because they didn't come to Mount Calvary to visit us. They were always so far removed that we always thought we'd check out the story, which was that the Rulands was one of the families that helped the Ringling Brothers, which was located in Baraboo. And the Ringling Brothers had so many people financing.
Investing in that,
always broke. So the Rulands the brewery was supposed to be one of the investors in this, but we never checked it out. And Eugene, one of our first cousins, said he had been in Baraboo and he had been in a bank where on a picture on the wall they saw John Ruland with his money bag presenting it to John Ringling.
Okay. Yeah,
so he saw that on the wall. Now we just talked about it. We said, well, we better go there, take a picture of this, to verify this if we want to tell somebody.
Right.
So now I'm writing a book, and I don't even mention it because we never verified it.
I
and we
see.
can't say that we were one of the contributors to the Ringling Brothers unless we absolutely knew it was true.
I see. And then
now, too bad that he died. I'm trying to think of his first cousins. We have so many first cousins. Crescent Schrage. Yeah, he was there.
I remember living in Mount Calvary when I was a youngster, And I never realized that the Schroggies were some kind of relatives to us.
First, yes.
Oh.
Pete Schroggy married Dad's sister, Ava.
Oh.
Ava Schmitz.
Okay. And how about on grandmother's side of the family?
Well, we got to know all of them. They all stayed there. They all stayed in the community. We got to know all of them.
Your grandmother, grandfather, on mother's side of the family, or on your mother's side of the family, were who?
Mary Steffes was her mother.
I see.
And then we grew to grandmother. Grandmother at the time, no, great-great-grandmother was 104 or so at the time when we were there.
Oh.
Grandfather Steffes was 95 when he died, and we saw him all the time. They lived a few blocks from us. Oh, when he'd come to visit us. If he'd stay for dinner, we'd all run up to Mother afterward. Did you leave $1,000? If he didn't, boy, we were so disappointed. Because he very rarely ate at our place, but when he did, he usually left $1,000.
Wow.
So this was something to look forward to, Daddy Steffes coming to visit.
Have
dinner, though,
Yeah.
He would never leave money without having dinner.
Without dinner.
To be recompensed for it.
Yeah, golly. And let me see. The history, the lineage of the family, they came from Germany, right? Back in the
1848.
1848.
1848 and 1849, I believe.
Okay.
Both sides of the family.
Both sides.
Well, one 1848 and the other one 1849.
Okay.
From Bavaria.
Bavaria. Okay. I can just envision the short pants and the suspenders.
Oh, yeah. Well, we didn't see that in Calvary, no. That custom never took.
Never took. Well, to go on then, you left the band, mother got married, and then you moved to New York, and take it from there.
Okay. I got to New York at a good time, Boys were all going into service, and I worked in a club on 52nd Street, the same place that wouldn't hire the girls and this was Swing Street. This was a heyday of Swing Street, 52nd Street, New York. It was summer of 41 when all the boys were in town, taking the ships overseas, and the place was just jumping, but it was all sadness and joy, after all, they were all leaving to go to war.
Yeah.
So it was a mixture of this, but it was a very exciting time to be in New York. And then we were on this wonderful street where Coleman Hawkins was playing in one club right across the street. We were in one club, and then down the street was Art Tatum down the street, Billie Holiday, we used to go to see her one time. When the places were so crowded to see Billie Holiday, that they would put a table up. They put a tablecloth over a quarter to have an extra table.
Jeepers.
Funny, laugh.
Yeah.
So one time I was sitting here was Billie Holiday. I had to look up like this, and her dress was always pink. I had my beautifully coiffed hair, and I didn't like this, but her dress was forever pushing my hair back. And because it came so close, I had to look straight up to see her. That's how close not only the band was to the people, but all through the club. Everybody wanted to see Billie Holiday. She was the hottest thing in show business. And we saw her a lot because she was downstairs at night when we got through. Between sets, we'd run over to see Billie Holiday. And she was amazing. She was just something else. But she was on drugs, and it killed her at an early age. But there were all kinds of other big names, like 6 big names on the street at the same time. So you can imagine the excitement on the street. You go from one place to another, all big names.
Right.
And small places. It's amazing. You wouldn't see that now. This is
that was the time.
Amazing era.
Yeah.
But of course, all this money was in New York. With all the servicemen spending money, and money was just flowing like water.
Good.
Well, at any rate, in 42, I joined Phil Spitalny. And then when I auditioned, I was still with the Coquettes. I auditioned a year before, with no intention of leaving the Coquettes. But I happened to be in New York, and I had the drum set up at the Claridge Hotel anyway upstairs, and we were rehearsing up there. So I thought, well, this is a good time to audition, even if I don't expect to leave the Coquettes for a long, long time, if ever. So I auditioned, and the one of the Coquettes had everything loosened on my drum set. I started to play, and the snare drum sunk way down. The bass drum started rolling aside. And things started falling down. It was funny. It was obvious that wasn't the way I set up the drums.
Right.
Yes. Rose Hill Martin, the saxophone player, did this. She didn't want me to get the job, but of course I wouldn't have taken it anyway at the time. I had no idea of leaving the Coquettes. We were just too happy to be still on the road, and everybody was happy. So I had no intention of leaving. And luckily he didn't need a drummer until a year later. That's when I joined, 42. And I stayed 13 and a half years.
13 and a
half years.
Wow. Can you relate some stories about the Phil Spitalny experience? That was on the radio.
Yes, we played.
Hour of Charm, was it?
He was on the radio, I think, before I ever joined, he had a weekly show, The Hour of Charm.
Yeah.
So I joined over after a certain number of years, and I was with the band for 13 and a half years, and half the time we were playing Sunday night broadcasts. Hour of Charm.
I remember.
And then we did the theater work on the side, At the same time, we played the Sunday broadcasts.
Right. I remember seeing you on Ed Sullivan.
We played 5 Ed Sullivan shows.
Yeah, that was
And
something.
Ed Sullivan was a sponsor for me to get into the Westchester Country Club.
Really?
He was one of the sponsors, and the other sponsor was the head of a music publishing company in New York. So even with these good 2 wonderful sponsors, the Westchester, I went up there, and the Westchester Country Club said, they should have told me this in advance, but they said they just had a policy of not having single girls join the club.
Wow.
See, I was playing golf. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
game at the time. So we had a lot of time free when we weren't working. We had 5 days free each week, 6 days free. So they said it was their policy not to have single girls. So I wasn't given entree.
Oh.
It was all right too. I was too busy.
Uh-huh.
I didn't think about it.
And some of the sporting activities you participated in were, as I recall, skiing and...
Yeah, that was my favorite sport.
Really?
Oh no, tennis.
Tennis.
Tennis was my favorite sport. Yeah.
And then you golfed, of course. Uh-huh.
Well, I had a lot of time. That's the only thing, you know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Wow.
Oh, I went to school. I went to Columbia and Hunter College for years. Just
pick up...
extra extension courses.
Uh-huh. And did you do something at Juilliard? Or...
At Juilliard, I had a scholarship for school year, but just for the summer symphony. I couldn't have joined any school or be any place for full time.
So you were working all the time.
Yeah. So yes, I had a summer scholarship one summer. That was a ball.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Then I auditioned for Tanglewood, where the musicians used to go for summer months for the Arthur Fiedler.
Of course.
There every summer. And later, Leonard Bernstein was there. So 2 summers they accepted me. I had auditioned the first
Really?
summer. And then the second summer I didn't audition, but they once again accepted me. And once again I had to cancel 2 times.
Okay.
Because Spitalny used to say, no bookings this summer, girls. You can go ahead. 2 other times I went to Europe for 2 months. Both times. For 2 months each time I was there. But when he'd say, girls, you're free all summer, it was always good news to us.
Oh.
We didn't even have to do the Sunday broadcasts, which meant that everybody just,
There-
everybody
6 ways to the wind. Yeah.
they flew right out fast, as fast as they could.
I guess Spitalny must have been quite a taskmaster.
Oh, yes. He was rough. He was rough on the girls. You had to be tough to be in a Spitalny band. And you just could not say the wrong thing, or you were out.
Out.
Oh, yes. Maxine was one of the stars of the show.
Okay.
There was Evelyn, who was a top
Violin,
star.
yeah.
Then Maxine and Vivian, the 2 singers.
Right.
Soprano and contralto. And then the violin
There was
contralto.
you,
We were the featured ones. So then here, Maxine came in with her Easter outfit, beautiful hat, done by, we had come from Hollywood, and we were still in Hollywood at the time, making we're making a picture, and then doing Sunday broadcast there. And she had just gotten from Edith Head, who was the costumer for the show.
For the movie, yeah.
When Donnie comes marching home.
Right.
So Edith Head, she was so proud of it. She looked beautiful. And Spitalny said, "Take off your hat, Maxine. You can't sing with a hat on." And she said, "Well, what's that got to do with my singing? Why can't I leave my hat on? It has nothing to do with my singing." And he said, "Take it off anyway." And she didn't.
Wow.
She didn't. And when she didn't, he said, "Okay, did he say you're fired right there, or it's just that we never saw her again after that night? We never saw her again."
Yeah.
But I don't remember whether he said to her, "Well, you're fired." Many times he would say, "Well, you're fired."
Gee.
No, he did say, if you don't want to take your hat off, you don't have to. That's what he said.
I see.
You don't have to. You're fired. Yeah, he did say
Okay,
that.
yeah.
So then we never saw her again because that's what his style. He gave them a 2-week salary. It's always required by the union.
Uh-huh.
And another girl was sworn at in the dressing room. We were invited to the president of the Musicians Union dinner at his home. All gold plates. We paid for it, the gold plates. President of the union. Here's our dues. So all of us were lovely, and Stokowski was there. All little tables. Stokowski was sitting like over there and there. And this girl was slow in getting out of the dressing room. He'd say, the bus was waiting for this one girl, bass fiddle player. And he said to Rosa, hurry up. The girls are all in the car waiting. Come on, hurry up. And she said, well, I'm hurrying. I'm removing my makeup as fast as I can. He said, don't remove your makeup. She said, I can't go in there looking like a clown. I'm going to leave my makeup on. He said, Jesus Christ. He never used the word Jesus Christ. He said, God, some swear word. I don't know what the swear word. It wasn't God damn it. Maybe he said God damn it. He said, God damn it, hurry up. And she said, nobody swears at me. He said, oh, well, nobody will swear at you. This is it. No, nobody needs to swear at you. Never mind. You're out. But she came to the dinner anyway, and then she was out.
Gee.
And then wait another. Oh, there were so many stories. One girl came in to show us all that we should have gotten about an extra $100 or so for certain extracurricular activity we had participated in somewhere. And she came in with this union statement, and we should have gotten about $100 more. And she was showing it to the girls in Spitalny. I don't know why she did this. She was stupid. How could she do that in front of Spitalny? Or he would find out anyway, even if he weren't in front of Spitalny. And he heard about it, of course, and of course she was out. We got her $100, but she was out. We never saw her again either. We never saw anybody again unless she happened to be, unless she was like in Wisconsin, if it was a girl from Wisconsin.
Right.
Then I'd see her again, but the other way, you'd never see the girls again. Or if we played in their cities in the country, like we traveled all over the country, but they'd hesitate to come backstage to see anybody. They wouldn't want to do that. They're afraid of running into Spitalny.
Yeah, boy.
So, no, we never seen them again. Oh, I could go on and on with stories like that. So then, you had to watch your P's and Q's.
Mm-hmm. Then after Spitalny, you signed up with Cabaret.
After Spitalny, no, I did club dates. I did it with different leaders in Wisconsin, in New York. Yeah. Different orchestra leaders, male musicians, and we played club dates at the various hotels with different bands. And then sometimes I'd have a date with Meyer Davis, and sometimes with Lester Lannon.
Okay.
But normally I played with other bands. I was a regular with their band,
right?
And I played dates with them. And so that was interesting too.
Yeah.
The only thing was a little bit more trouble with the drums, being a drummer.
Yeah,
that's why I talk everybody out of being a drummer, like Warren's girl. Leona, what was one called Leona? Nora is a drummer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I tried to discourage her from doing it as a profession. Because nowadays it would be even worse with drum outfits to think of. You leave it on the street in front of a hotel, which I could do in the old days. Now they disappear. You couldn't. You have to stay with everything. Everything is stolen. No, it's a bad profession now for a girl. But certainly it was great in my day because there weren't many drummers, and I had
That's true.
choice, and a lot of male bands, especially during the war. A lot of male bands. Woody Herman, Horst Haidt, Mel Hallett, a lot of bands asked me to join them, but I was with Spitalny, so I didn't even consider it.
Okay, and then it gets us up to Cabaret.
Yeah, that goes into Cabaret.
Yeah. And how?
Drums, by that time, the girl drummers are coming along now. There are a lot more and more drummers. And there are a lot of girl drummers audition for Cabaret, by the way.
I bet.
Yeah, because by that time, which is still many years ago, we did the show in 1966.
66.
It opened in November 1966. Went for 3 years and a few months.
And
of course, that was a ball.
I bet.
Do you know what the best thing about the Cabaret was? We were on the stage most of the time because we were the orchestra in the Cabaret, and the Cabaret was a thing whereby all around the Cabaret were lights, amber lights, light shining out into the audience, and also around the stage, in front of the stage, everything lights.
Okay.
And it's shown out into the audience, about 20 rows. We would sit up there when we weren't working, but we'd be in the club, just sitting there, ready for the next tune. And we just look around and see. Right in front was Bob Hope, and with Loretta Young, and over here was, I'll tell you, I made a page, this big a page, all the way down. Almost every star in Hollywood that you can think of in those 3.5 years would be in New York, and everybody would see Cabaret if they were in New York.
Right.
So then, well, that's how long this page was. And we saw them all. Every night we would go backstage later, or in between we would go backstage. We weren't on the stage the full 2 hours.
Right.
We'd talk about, did you see so-and-so? Did you see so-and-so? They were all out there. And then Betty Garbo was there, but she was sneaking in. Nobody saw her. The usher told us that he helped sneak her in somewhere where nobody would see her. Sneak into her seat, way on the side, so nobody would see her. Nobody did. But, by the way, I saw Betty Garbo 2 different times. One time in Bloomingdale's, she had a egg beater. Oh, look at this. She was telling her companion. Look at this. I was standing right next to her. I didn't know it was Garbo. And I looked at the egg beater too and started watching it. Oh, that's cute. And then I looked over, it was Garbo. But she's trying to hide herself. She had it was raining that day. She had a black raincoat, black hood. I'm short, and she's tall. So I looked under that, saw Garbo. But I saw her another time, Garbo. Let me see where. But anyway, Joan Crawford. I remember Joan Crawford. She's the only one who wanted to make an entrance in the theater. She waited for the lights to start going down, and everything was still because we're ready for the act.
Right.
So everything gets very still, and then she comes walking down way to the front, and then everybody applauded. But she's the only one who did it. Of all the stars there, she made an entrance. She timed herself. A lot of applause, and she turned around and bowed to everybody and sat down. And then we went on with the show.
Continue on with the show.
And she came backstage to see some of the people backstage, and I passed her coming down the steps. I got a good glance of her. She was very studied. Well, I saw her in restaurants 2 different times. Saw her quite often. But she was, Rock Hudson came backstage with red hair. That was a shock, red hair, Rock Hudson. A lot of stars came backstage. Paul Newman, a lot of them. Because everybody knew. Mostly they knew Joel Gray or Lottie Lendia was very famous. A lot of people had worked with her. And Jill Haworth, the star of the show. Yeah, it was just like a 3-year ball. Because the show was fun to do.
Yeah.
The whole thing was just all fun.
Great. Have you done that in any other Broadway shows?
Did I what?
Did you ever do any other Broadway shows?
Oh, no, this is the only thing.
That was the only one?
Well, this is and in fact, this was the last time I only played, oh yes, we went on the road with this in summer months with the second cabaret, the traveling cabaret.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, it was Joel Gray. Yeah, some of us, Gillette. Well, anyway, we went on the road for 2 years.
Okay.
Summer theater. Week here, week there.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, some of us stayed together. Our little group for musicians, the Kit Kat Band, we were called. So we played a few places around in New York. And then we went to the last date I played. And the reason I knew New York, we had to break up our little group. We were very much in demand. We could have had a lot of bookings. And Kit Kat Band for Cabaret. Cabaret had just closed. We were very much in demand. But one of the girls wanted to finish college. Another one had 2 children. Marianne had 2 children. And the children, she felt that the children, we couldn't travel anymore. I mean, we were supposed to travel. If we were going to stay together, we had to travel. So no, she wanted to be with the children. One of the girls, a trombonist, needed an operation, a serious spinal operation. And she couldn't be put off, and she couldn't work for a few months. So the whole thing, I didn't care much. I preferred to be continual. But by that time, I was of an age where I didn't really care to work as hard as we would have had to work if we had continued.
Right.
4 of us. I really didn't want to work that hard. But at any rate, we finished our engagement in grand style because we went to Atlantic City and played at the Haddon Hall, which is now one of the big hotels. No, it used to be Haddon Hall. And then there was the Bourbon Street Festival, and there was a 19-piece house band, Benny Goodman group with 6 musicians, and then a Kit Kat band, all in this huge auditorium. And there was dancing and all that. And then the next day, this was my last engagement, or our last engagement.
Right.
The next day in the coffee shop, I talked to Benny Goodman. And he was at the next table, and he said that he liked the girl orchestra very much, our little group. And he said, what instrument do you play? And I said, I'm the drummer. Oh, he said, I like the drummer there. Well, then he had to say something. No.
Right.
He said, so I don't think about that much anymore. Then he said that he was a good drummer, so I don't think about it much anymore. I better not.
Now let's take a break here. We're in the living room of our home, and it's Christmas time, so we didn't have anything really special set up. And I thought, well, this is a great time to get the camera out and have a chat with my Aunt Vi. We had a wonderful time while she was here. We went up to the Getty Center and went all around the Getty Center, had a good walk through the museum, and we went to a party at a friend's house, a Christmas party, Honorik Badassian, who's a good friend of our family's. And he had, maybe 25 people there maybe that evening. So it was a nice get-together. Okay, well, I really like a little bit more about the feeling back in Mount Calvary and growing up. And my daughter Jennifer thinks that I discipline her hard when I tell her you're going to be grounded. But
discipline. You know Daddy Schmitz with discipline.
No.
She should know if Jennifer thinks that she's being disciplined too much. She should have known Daddy Schmitz. Dad.
Yeah.
Well, we were afraid of Dad, and yet he was the kindest man. Mother and Dad, nobody ever touched us, like hitting us or slapping us. Nothing.
Okay.
Never. But the punishment was kneel down. Kneel down, and when you're ready to ask for forgiveness, then okay, and that's what we did. We just had to kneel there until we'd swallow our pride and say, Mr. Shane, darf ich aufstehen? Then it was okay. But the punishment was this. Oh yeah, Dad used to pull our ears.
Okay.
That was a punishment. I'd forgotten about that.
And Irma. When Irma lived with us, that was, Irma had the steel vice grip. When Irma got hold of your ear, you know.
She got it from Dad then.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Irma would do this.
Irma did, oh yes.
She took care of your children.
Yeah, and in fact, even when we were little kids, vaguely I remember once in a while Mother would pull our ears also. She'd get us by the ear, you better not do that.
I'm glad to hear that. So she carried on with that.
Golly, I haven't thought about that for years.
And you know that Mother, the amazing thing, as busy as she was, she had a scrapbook of the Diane quintuplets. And imagine mother with all these children, 10 children, and she had a scrapbook. Well, we all had scrapbooks. We had this theater. We got these huge posters. Unfortunately, we never kept any because they're very valuable.
Yeah.
The large posters of movie stars. And then we had a lot of them, to post all over town. And, well, it's too bad. They're gone.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think of something about the movies.
Oh, well, one other thing about logging. Aunt Sally kept quite a diary, didn't she?
Well, Sally kept a diary all the way back.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Yeah, that's something kids today just don't do, I think.
No, I don't. No, they're too busy living their lives. They don't have time to write it down.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
When you were young, when did you first, for instance, when did radio come into play in Mount Calvary?
Well, that's all we heard, nights was
radio.
Which is just as well. If they had been television those days,
Right.
there would never have been an orchestra.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been a small town, Phil Spitalny always said, go to the small towns for your musicians. That's where they had the time to practice. The city kids, most of the girls were from small towns.
Oh, really?
Most of the girls had gone to conservatory. I mean, mostly from the conservatories. The music conservatories.
Right.
That's where you got most of the musicians.
Uh-huh. Wow. Well, then going forward again, you forgot, I think, some of your movies.
Oh, we made 2 movies, and then a few shorts within Coquette's Warner Brothers shorts. And then the movies were Abbott Costello and Here Come the Coeds,
Uh-huh.
and Ella Jones and Jane Frazee in When Johnny Comes Marching Home.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that, of course, was a highlight of my life, really, making the movies. That was the most exciting part. Well, what was exciting, too, we played for Harry Truman's
Inauguration?
His inauguration in Washington, and there were a lot of bands there. One band followed the other.
Oh.
We followed Duke Ellington.
Gee.
And so he just wheeled them all on, and this huge auditorium, straight ahead was the president,
Yeah.
and his daughter, the musician,
piano
singer,
player.
the singer. So that was exciting.
You did never watch.
And then there were some stars, never mind big orchestras,
Right.
but also all these stars, an array of stars.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you, it seems like I've seen every star.
I imagine so.
Oh, Marlene Dietrich was this cute one time. We were rehearsing in Hollywood, making the picture, and then the girl in the violin sections went to the ladies' room. And Marlene Dietrich had been standing in the back listening to us. So she came down, sat in, picked up the violin, and started to play. So when Spitalny picked up the music again, the girl hadn't returned. Dietrich, who's a violinist, she plays piano too, she started to play. And then Evelyn was sitting next to her. And when Evelyn looked over, she just flipped. Here was Dietrich playing next to her, really playing.
I'll be
That was
back.
cute. Yeah.
So,
Elizabeth Taylor, too, would stand in the back and watch us. I saw Elizabeth Taylor for the first time when I was at the Cabana in New York, and I was in a rich side seat, and I looked up, and here she was dancing by with Walter Winchell, and she was very close to me, and I looked up, and I saw the most beautiful eyes I have ever seen, violet eyes. At that time, I didn't even know her name at that time. She was just starting to be well known. But the violet eyes, you can't imagine how beautiful those eyes were. But even in colored pictures, they don't show up like that. No wonder she was one of the reasons, I suppose. No, she had plenty of other reasons to become a star without the eyes, without beautiful eyes. Yeah, my life has been a ball. I've been very lucky to be the drummer. I felt so sorry for all the rest of my sisters who had to play their instruments and work so hard, 4 hours a night, sometimes dance music. And I'd sit there, and it was like fun. Playing drums is fun. It was like playing tennis. It's just all fun. And I feel so sorry for everybody.
You had to schlep around the drums.
Well, that I was felt sorry for me, I suppose. Oh, well, then I somehow never minded that. I never minded that.
So.
It's true.
Do I recall that you did a little artwork once in a while? Did you ever paint or something or not?
Well, that was a hobby.
That was a hobby.
I never started painting.
Oh.
I was thinking, Dietrich reminded me of Charles Boyer because I saw them together a
Uh-huh.
lot. Well, Boyer, one time we were going into the commissary. That's where we used to see most of the stars when we were making a picture. They were all eating there at the same time, more or less the same time. And you'd see just all around, nothing but stars. But in going into the commissary one time, Charles Boyer was opening the door for the first one, not knowing how many were to follow. So he opened the door, held the door. And so all of a sudden there were 35 girls who was holding the door for it. It got funnier and funnier. Everybody was laughing. He was laughing because he didn't expect that. The people in the commissary saw it, and they all applauded. We all marched in because he was holding the door for so many girls.
Oh, that's good. About the family again. In our family, you have some that are studious, you have some that are hellions. In your family, who was the bookworm and who was the sports person, or the brothers and sisters?
Well, I was the most interested in sports.
Uh-huh.
Studious. Irma was very studious. She left the band to go to St. Mary Springs Academy. And she's the only one who left for reasons of continuing with school. I continued my school in Columbia and night studies, and also under college. I took a lot of different courses.
Some of the talents that the girls had, I know that Sally had a unique talent of being able to write chords or something.
Oh, she was inborn. She had an inborn innate thing about knowing chords when she was very little. When she started writing music very, very young, and even when she was very little and started practicing piano and violin, Dad would call her into the tavern to play for people, and she could barely, it was old Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
She'd stand up and she could barely reach the keyboard standing up and playing because it didn't have a piano bench,
Okay.
Stood up and played the keyboard, and then it had this thing rolling around.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew the melody of pop songs.
Mm-hmm.
She was faking the melody, and very young, like 7 or 8 years old. And then she knew what chords to put with it. She was born with that talent.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, because nobody taught this to her. She knew which chords to put with the top notes. And Dad brought her in to show off the people were amazed at this.
Yeah, the talent,
knowing this. And not, if she had read it and memorized it, mm-hmm. something else. But she just knew the melody from hearing it on the radio. And then she would know what went with it. That was Sally was the most talented. Next was Mildred. Mildred was probably just as talented, but because Sally had that unique quality that that stood out above everything else. That's something like that. But equally, maybe Sally and Mildred were the musicians of the band.
Oh.
And of course, Loretta was a great pianist. When we heard Loretta now in recent years, before she got too old, she would play the piano, those old ragtime tunes that as good as any you ever heard.
Really? Yeah.
She was. A lot of things were very fast.
Very
fast. The old-time tunes were very fast. She would be all over that keyboard, and even in her old age, the last time I saw her play piano, she was quite old and looked old. And then
still
I
dancing.
couldn't believe that she'd walk away from the piano and walk very slowly. Everything was nimble in the fingers, really. Yeah. The rest of her body was sort of stiff. It was amazing.
Gee,
she was a great musician. And then she taught us. She taught us piano, and we also took piano lessons from others. Mostly Loretta is the one who kept after us to be pianists first. Yeah, Loretta was a great inspiration. Mm-hmm. She was such an unusual person, Loretta. Very, very kind person.
What was a Christmas like at your house?
Well, we have to all go to Christmas. I shouldn't say all have to. We would love to go to Christmas midnight mass.
Yeah.
But before we go to midnight mass, we had to turn on the kitchen lights. We had this long table with all gifts, all the way down, everything gifts. And my mother would do this. She'd turn on the light just briefly before we go to church. So we could just take a brief look. We couldn't see the presents until the morning. But we could just take a look at everything there, and then she'd switch off the light again. And then we'd all go to midnight mass.
Oh, boy.
And then the mornings we had our Christmas gifts.
So it wasn't as much of a Santa Claus thing as today. It was...
Well, Santa Claus, sure,
Santa Claus was... Oh, yeah. Santa Claus did bring it down.
And then one of the maids and I would go upstairs, and we had goblets, real beautiful sound to them. By ringing them, the ice cream goblets.
Okay.
We'd bring them up from upstairs, and then when the younger children downstairs, they'd hear it from the outside, coming into their windows. And then we'd ring different, she had 2, and I had 2, and we'd climb them away, and we'd say, that's Santa Claus going by in the sky. Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah. So some of the festivities you had, of course, what was Thanksgiving like at your house?
Well, Thanksgiving was, to us, we always had sort of a huge dinner. So it wasn't much different from a dinner.
Yeah.
Dad believed in a lot of eating.
A lot of eating, yeah.
Even many times he'd bring drinks in for everybody because he believed in drinking too, which I believe in too, especially the red wine.
Yeah.
I've been drinking red wine for a long time, for years as a matter of fact. Ever since I heard about a town in southern France, right under the Pyrenees Mountains, this little town where everybody lived into the hundreds of years, and it turned out they were all red wine drinkers. White wine is okay too, but not quite as good as red. Right. So they all lived into the 95, 100 years. And then France made a study of it and advertised it. And pretty soon the French people are onto that too for a long, long time. This goes back about, at least 10 years that I wrote. I read it about 10 years ago, but even before that, there are other studies that people were turning to red wine rather than white wine. Well, which makes sense. it clears the arteries.
Uh-huh.
And grapes too, eat grapes, it's very fine. Good thing.
So really, as kids, you girls would spend a lot of time studying music.
Yes.
Instead of going out and getting into mischief.
Well, there's no time for that.
That's right.
There's no time.
So, golly. And another thing people don't realize today, I think, a fair used to be a big thing, didn't it? The local county fairs, the state fairs, and things like that.
Oh yes, well those are the ones we played.
Yeah.
That was the biggest event of the year usually in most of the towns.
I remember.
In Milwaukee, in big cities, there was a big thing, the fair of the year.
Yeah. I remember Mother talking about a Pierce Arrow. Now,
Oh, we sold it. We traded it in for a 1939 Dodge, 7-passenger Dodge, a new one. And it was turned in, but I didn't do it. It was our manager, the Coquettes Orchestra, Bill and I had the Coquettes Orchestra. We had a manager, Carl Ayler, and we had to make a trip to Buffalo, the biggest event of Buffalo for the year. And I met a girl from the IBM who had something to do with that, a woman. Had something to do with these affairs every year at IBM in Buffalo. They had these big affairs. And we were booked for it with the Coquette Orchestra. And Carl Ayler, the manager, said, gee, I'm afraid of the car we were driving. The Pierce Arrow, we were driving the Pierce Arrow, he said, it won't make Buffalo, which is 285 miles from New York. It won't make Buffalo. No, it was 200 miles, I think. And a snowstorm was predicted. He went out and bought this car. And Mildred and I didn't even know he was trading in the Pierce Arrow. Did Mildred ever tell you that we didn't know he was trading in the Pierce Arrow?
Wow.
It was a done deal before we knew, but we didn't know that the Pierce Arrow was so valuable. Had we known that, we would have had a heart attack.
oh Lord, yeah.
Yeah, because he did it with our knowledge, and he managed I had to sign the papers later, but it was a done deal. And we were very happy to see this car that we knew would get us to this booking.
Right.
But to see that, and it had a bullet hole in the front of it. It was shown as a gangster car, I believe. With a bullet hole with all these streaks in the corner of the windshield. In the corner.
Okay.
So we assumed that it was a Chicago gangster car. I think so.
Mother used to say sometimes you'd be driving into town with a Pierce Arrow and people would look at the car with all these girls in it.
Yes, and then the drum on the side and the bags and the stuff looked like gypsies. And the Pierce Arrow made us look a little respectable. It was a tan and brown, very beautiful one. And then we had a speaker in the back, and we could close the window between the front and back. And we always had a bartender in Calvary. Dad always had a bartender to help him. Not too, but one always. And he many times would be the driver. So sometimes we wouldn't want to go to Fond du Lac. We'd have him drive the car. We'd sit in the back seat, close the window, and then we'd sit there with the phone.
Oh yeah.
Okay, James, take me to the library. We'd kid around with this. It was fun.
Yeah.
I only got 5 miles in the gallon. Can you imagine?
Jeepers.
5 miles in the gallon, maybe 6, something like that.
Well, let me take a break here. Okay. So that's a lot of your life, your time here. We were lucky to have you. You know.
Oh, am I lucky to be here?
We spent a long time booking you.
Well, I'll tell you, I've done so many exciting things. I loved going out the other night. We went to this, what is it, $5 million estate, something like that.
Right.
It was just breathtaking what I saw there, and then they had about 50 guests at dinner. And then the music, they had music for it, live music. It was just delightful. And the food, I mean, mention the food, however you can imagine that. There's so much wealth around here. And the homes, I mean, I didn't realize that California was built up as it is. I didn't realize that.
Right, it's
so
really...
many estates, and so much wealth, really.
Yeah, it's really grown. Beyond me, how people can afford to live here.
That's true. I don't know how. They must all have terrific jobs. And then I loved it, just yesterday afternoon, going to that
Getty Center.
Getty's. That's what do you call it? Getty's what?
It's called the Getty Center.
The Getty Center.
Or Getty Museum.
I was amazed at how many beautiful paintings they had, and what a lovely museum.
And the size of it.
Just never end.
And the fact that it's open to the public.
Free of charge.
Yeah.
How can all that be free of charge?
Yeah.
That's great. Paul Getty, we have to give him credit.
Yeah.
And also when I came from Vegas, where I visited with
talk about Steve, yeah.
Steve, Elbeck, and Anna. And really, they also lived in a lovely home. They rented a $350 million home, and he's a lieutenant colonel, so we afford that rent. But we went to a few shows, and I saw the Cirque, the Beatles in the Cirque. There are 4 the Cirques, and the Beatles one we saw. But both shows were just fantastic. Can't even describe them. Much better than the things in New York. Really.
Right.
See, it's on a much larger scale in New York. You know, the space in New York, nobody can afford this in New York. There's
right.
Big hotels in New York. Their largest ballrooms are not anything like out here.
No.
This biggest especially.
Yeah. I was really pleased to meet Steve. It was the first time I've met Steve when he came through, and I was sure glad that you had an opportunity to come here from Steve's place.
Yes.
So that's been a reward for us. We hope that you're a more frequent visitor.
Oh, well, I hope so too, because I love it so much.
Yeah,
wait 3 weeks.
save on your frequent flyer miles coming out here.
Oh,
And let me see. So you still live in New York? You're
still love it.
yeah, and
And the crime has gone down considerably. In fact, New York is one of the safe places now.
Really?
I mean, way down the scale. I don't know what it's now. It used to be up the top, like
Right,
first,
right.
second. Now it's way down. I don't know what place it has.
Oh, good.
So that helps. It makes you feel safer at night.
Uh-huh.
Going out.
What are some of the things you do now? You're a bridge player.
Lately, I've been so busy. I've been Walter's guardian.
Uh-huh.
And his legal guardian, and it's taken up all my time. And Walter was blind
Mm-hmm.
for a few weeks. One eye is completely blind, and he just had an operation on his other eye, so it's just now starting to be okay. So it's been a lot of stress lately. And take care of his business, writing his checks, writing my checks. You know, it's an all-consuming job, and it's a lot to let it away and have these 3 weeks.
Have a break, yeah.
Have a break.
And you were writing a book also.
Yeah, it's been put aside. It's been put aside for almost a year.
Uh-huh.
I haven't done anything with it because there just has been no time. I've been so overwhelmed. I've been washed with work, all to do with Walter. And in fact, I've been older, it takes me longer to do everything. My bookkeeping and all that takes longer. So the last year, my life has been dreamlike and fairy-like all the way up to the last year. The last year, yeah, I could have done without it. I can't complain. All the rest of the years have been so wonderful. So I'll take one bad year. I've had a few weeks of respite, so I feel better about things.
Well, that's great. You're certainly looking in good shape, and it's like I said, it's a joy to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's a joy to be here.
Yeah, and
And Nancy and Jennifer are just wonderful. And the food is so good.